Okay, so we're live on everything except for Instagram. Hi, Amanda
Hi.
Marino here. And I just changed the name from Recovery Solutions to Levels Without Limits. So
Fabulous.
that's the name of my live show. And we're going live on Instagram now too. Okay, I always have to double check it because I don't trust it. It makes you press it like 3 times. So good
Yeah.
afternoon, friends. I am Amanda Marino with Levels Without Limits, and our guest today is Marissa. And Marissa, thank you. I want to start by thanking you because we were supposed to do this maybe a month or two ago, and I was kind of going through stuff, and we hopped on. I got really raw and vulnerable with you, and you were like, let's just reschedule this. And I connected with you deeply in that moment. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to introduce yourself to everybody and say hello. If you have anyone to say hello to myself or Marissa in the chat, please say hello.
Yes. Well, no, thank you. And I completely understand having to pivot and reschedule. Such is life. There's always that human factor. I have 4 kids, so we have softball and gymnastics today. So I completely understand life taking the wheel sometimes. But I'm so glad that we were able to reschedule. So glad to be here. And yes, I'm Marissa Cherepanov, and I'm the CEO visionary of No Girl Left Behind, among a few other things. I write articles in magazines. I work on the board of advisors at Linfield University, and I also work in sales and leadership.
So she's not only beautiful, she's a genius.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet.
That's so like how we connected was basically, through the messenger of Instagram, which if you told me before pandemic, like that would be a thing. And then you wrote a beautiful article.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I did write an article about you. That is, how we connected. Yeah, I forgot. I write a lot of articles. That's funny. I did write an article about you. Yeah, and I think it was, again, like same thing. I have some friends through the sobriety community that are like my ride or die friends that I met through Instagram. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and then so many people in business I've met that I actually, or just friendship, just in all ways that when we do spend time in person, that it actually is a real relationship.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
crazy. I just never would have thought this ever in my life.
And then we were going through some of the same things when we got really vulnerable. So like there's that connection. So yeah, it's been fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are in Washington State?
Oregon.
Oregon.
And speaking of kids, I do have a sick kid home on the other side of the door. So we should be okay. But it was a very interesting Easter in my house. I had to host, but I also had, I have 4 kids and the youngest had the flu. So I was like tending to the flu, trying to keep things sanitary, trying to cook. Yeah, it was fun.
Well, you have a sick kid. I have puppies and then potential people in and out whenever, just because that's how it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to go with the flow and we're going to, transforming your life through positivity. Tell me about your organization, or tell our viewers about your organization, and then maybe we'll step into the topic.
Absolutely. So No Girl Left Behind is a female empowerment organization, and it was founded by Kiki Rosema in Canada. I met her through social platforms about a year ago, and we connected. And then the more that we spoke, and it got to the point where we were talking every day, it kind of really became relevant that what I'd been doing for the last almost 20 years, running businesses for other brands, could be very well tied into helping her with the organization, especially launching in the States. And so we decided to go for it. And so we actually have our first United States event next month, May 17th.
Awesome.
It's an all-day event. So it's generally from like 9:30 to 3:30, 9:30 to 4. It's all women. You don't have to be a mother or daughter. And there's no age restriction other than they have to be over 9 years old. But I mean, we have 70-year-olds come by themselves just to get some empowerment and confidence. So there's really no restriction. Sometimes people get the conception that you have to be a mother and daughter. And no, we have girls that get dropped off. We have women that come by themselves, friends, neighbors, aunts. Yeah. And so we start out with just kind of like an icebreaker, like a meet and greet, because you can imagine, the girls that are in their tweens and elementary age and teenagers, they have kind of a wall put up in the beginning of the day. They're kind of too cool for school. I mean, I would have been too. I'd have been too cool to be there. You're just, sometimes your parents bring you to things and you're like, what is this? Yes. So we have like this icebreaker moment, some snacks for them, some get to know you, some fun activities. And then Kiki starts the day, kind of sets the tone and talks about the mission. She introduces the presenters, and then we break people up by age. So girls age 9 to 15 go in a separate room for youth workshops, hands-on sessions, and empowerment activities. And then the women go through some other workshops in another room, more targeted at women. At the last one, we had like a menopause session. We have Allie Stone does a heart math session. There's a mirror session. So throughout the day, you're broken up into these rooms, separated by age. And then we bring you back together after each one for like breakthrough moments. And, the kids will come back and find the guardian that was there with them if they had one, and kind of talk about what they went through. We'll have like a moment with some music, get a drink, have some snacks, go to the bathroom, and then we'll do another session. We do that about 2 or 3 times. And then by that time, everyone has really brought down that wall. The girls are getting to know strangers, other girls at the event, exchanging phone numbers, getting to know that they have similar things in common with these other girls. And then we have a dance party and a lunch. And I always say by that time, the girls have fully gotten comfortable. I mean, they're dancing, they're laughing, they're yelling, they're taking selfies. We always have like a selfie wall. So by lunchtime, it's like we've all become this unit of powerful women that we all understand this is a comfortable, safe space. You can be yourself. You let the demons out. We're all here to just do one thing, and that's to be confident about who we are in our own skin. And then after lunch, we go through 2 or 3 more sessions, again, separated by age and things like that. And then at the very end, we just kind of come together and turn the music back up, make sure we've exchanged phone numbers with everybody there. Because we're all kind of lifelong friends after that. But that's the day. That's what the day looks like. And the actual sessions vary. We have 4 women that travel to each event. That's Kiki Rozema, myself, Allie Stone, the founder of The Inspired Leader, and Alethea Crimmins. And then from that 4, we also recruit some local regional female empowerment type of women that, we just look up online and things like that, or through word of mouth. And then we have them come and speak also. So it's half of our core empowerment team. And then we also have some local people.
Where is Oregon?
This one is in Oregon. Yeah. So I, strategically wanted to have the first one in my hometown. We've had invites to go to Texas, California, Florida, and hopefully we'll get there. Right now I'm going back and forth between Canada. We have about 3 events a year in Canada, but this one in Oregon is May 17th in Salem, the capital of Oregon, at the Salem Convention Center. Yeah, it's going to be so exciting. We're I think exactly a month out. And right around. And I'm like in full event mode. I mean, every spare minute I have, I'm in meetings and I'm out canvassing the pavement and telling everyone about it. So it's been really fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely share. I'll look through your stuff and share it to support. That's really exciting. If you come to Florida, come to South Florida, because we're the best part of Florida.
There you go.
We're like I'm from here, and it's very rare to be, but we're just like a hybrid of mishmash of people from all over the world, really,
Yeah. And there's really no limit to where we, can go. I mean, we can go anywhere that we have an invite. We just have to get there. It's just the planning, the behind the scenes, the operations, all the fun stuff.
I love that. That sounds so great. And it's listen, I've said this too many times lately. If it's 2025, if you are still a woman that is threatened or intimidated by another woman's shine, then you have some serious work to do. And I mean that with all the kindness in the world. We're here, like we are women that love and lift. And, when I see other people shine, like, I don't feel bad about myself. I want to learn from them or see what they did or connect with them. And I think that the more that you're doing this, starting at the young ages, that we're not a threat to one another. We can just support and lift one another.
Yeah, that's exactly what our day is about. That's actually kind of specifically what my session is about with the girls, because I go over what I call the car analogy, and it's from a book I read when I was in my late teens. And it talks about when you have that jealousy, when you see a woman that's achieving something you want and you have that yuck feeling like, why her, not me? You're literally pushing those things further away from you. If you can put yourself on her team and clap for her and say, like, how amazing for her. And it's a phenomenal book. It's called Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting by Lynn Grabhorn.
me that. I'm going to give it to my 12-year-old.
Yeah, it's a fabulous book. Kind of teaches you how to redirect your perspective, but exactly what you're saying, if you can clap for her and be happy for her, your own life gets so much easier. The opportunities just come.
It does. And like I did a woman for Women's National Women's Month a presentation recently, and mine was on loving, leaning, and learning from other women, right? And how I used to choose to be a guy's girl in my youth. Like I thought that was cool. Like I want to be a guy's girl. I was always picked on by girls when I was younger, so I just assumed,
Still am.
Still am. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I could tell you after this thing about something.
I know. I was going to say we could talk.
I don't even want to make it public, but yeah, the stuff that goes on. But like, I just promised myself through the bullying, through the whatever I've gone through, that I will continue to show up as a kind, loving, and supportive woman and do better. And I see my daughter at her young age implementing that into her life. And it's like, I think I shared with you that she got bullied. She got bullied and got a note. And like within 15 minutes, she was like, me and her dad talked to her on FaceTime, and she was like, I feel really bad for the person that wrote that. How must they feel about themselves? And I'm going to pray for them. And I was like,
that's amazing.
I know. I mean, I'm 43 years old, and like, I have to like coach myself to that kind of place. You know what I mean? And she just and she literally never thought about it again. She's just like,
that's amazing. My oldest daughter is like that. She's really smart with stuff like that. But I tell my younger two daughters, I have 3 daughters, and I tell the younger 2 that all the time, especially I have a 4th grader, and the 4th grade drama. So fun to hear about. But I tell her all the time, those kids that act like that probably have something really sad going on at home, making them act like that. So think of how hard it must be for them to go home if they're acting like that. There's something they're going through.
yes.
Kids don't just lash out and beat kids up in the bathroom for no reason. So, they're probably going through something, and let's think about that. How can we be their friend and maybe reach out to them? So yeah, I tell the 4th grader that all the time.
Yeah, I do. I pretty much have the same messaging, like what they must be going through at home. And like,
Mm-hmm.
and they know my childhood was, absolute, like say Lifetime movie, like so surreal, but so they know what I've gone through. And like, it's been a mission of mine to raise them with the positivity and the truth, and it's not about you, it's about that. You know what I mean? Not everything is about us,
And I don't know like everything from your past. I've done a little bit of research, but like we haven't done like a whole like get to know me deep dive. So I don't know like the details of yours. I know like a high level. I did see something of yours. Your sister, right? Something happened to your sister.
Me. And then, yeah, at first first my mother was domestically abused for many years. And then I was being sexually abused, but she didn't know. And when she found out, he had threatened to kill her like every day. Like, if you leave me or you say anything. And he was Mr. Church, very, very religious guy by day. Everyone loved him in the community, but a drug dealer, a woman abuser, and sexual abuser by night. And we finally got away from him, had restraining orders. And then he hired somebody like on lawn day that was blending in with the people to run up and grab my sister and run to the car. And he was the getaway driver, and they took her to Canada for a month.
Yeah, that's what I saw. That's wild. That is like blockbuster. I've been meeting, the more I get involved in female leadership and I meet people like you, there's so many stories like that. And you just would never know that someone went through something like that. And to speak to what you were saying about how, you're raising your kids a certain way because of what you went through, I think we all have a little bit of that as mothers, like a PTSD where, no matter, I don't know, even no matter what you went through, bad or not, you kind of look at what happened to you as a child. And not to say I had something as horrific as that happen to me, but just even what I went through as a teenager, now that I have teenagers, I'm so PTSD. I just want to like not helicopter parent them by any means, but they would laugh if they were listening to this. But I want them to be here in my house with me. And so I love that this is where that they want to hang out and their friends want to hang out, because I didn't want to hang out at my home when I was a teenager, and I went and found terrible places to hang out. So yeah, we definitely structure our parenting, I think, based on what we went through. But yeah, yours is wild.
Yeah, same. And I used to say, I don't want to mess my kids up. Okay, listen, we're all going to mess our kids up in some kind of way. We're going to do stuff that like disappoints them, or we're all learning. I'm learning. I have an adult child and a teenage girl. I didn't travel. I think I shared this with you, from when middle school started till the beginning of the new year intentionally, because I was terrified for her to start middle school. She didn't even get why I was so scared. Now that she's had some experiences, now we talk about it. She's like, yeah, Mom,
Mhm.
I understand now. And I was
Yeah.
terrified because of my own shit. Right. So,
Yeah. No, exactly. Like perfect example. My oldest daughter was just a camp counselor at outdoor school for a week. So she went and stayed in a cabin and like took care of a group of kids. And I went to a summer camp when I was younger and it got shut down because, and it was like, miles, it was acres, it was huge. And some of the cabins were spread really far out. But there was one year where we all got rushed to the cafeteria and our parents picked us up. And we found out later that a stranger had come in off the highway and attacked a girl in the middle of the night and they shut the camp down forever. It never reopened. And so with her going to camp, I was like,
terrified. Yeah.
wait a second. And then she called me one night. She'd kill me too if she knew I was talking about this. But she called me one night and said that her like counselor mate had to leave. So she was alone. And I was like, you're alone in the cabin. Like, I'm not okay with that, just based on what I went through as a kid, but it's different now. There was no phones back then. And she said they're all like feet apart, they're within walking distance. But same thing. I almost didn't want her to go be a counselor because I was like, some things went down at summer camp in the 90s, you gotta be so careful.
I almost got kicked out of Girl Scout sleepaway camp. I pretended to be a boy dressed up with me and this couple of the girls.
Of course.
Boys, and pretended to be boys that came over from the other camp and like scared all the girls, and they really didn't like that. So.
Oh, that's funny. You got kicked out. I love it. A strong woman from the get-go.
So I feel like we're definitely hitting on the topic, but like, how do you see in your day-to-day as a mom, as a professional, as someone who's you have a heart of a giving heart, a woman connector, a woman empowerer, like how has transforming your life through positivity? And there's a lot of shit talk I feel like right now on positivity, like toxic positivity. And like, listen, I'm not for that either, but like you can have mind shifts and you can make things positive even when you go through dark things. So I think that the whole toxic positivity thing has gone too far the other way. Like that's not cool to me either. So where do you utilize transforming your life with positivity?
From a young age, and I talk about this a lot, I learned mental rehearsal, visualization, in like training camps. Cause I started gymnastics when I was 3. And gosh, by the time I was like maybe 10, I was competing. And by the time it was 1997, I was, I believe, 14 or 15, somewhere in there. And I retired. But by then I was competing nationally. But in the beginning stages, when I was in elementary school, my mom would send me to these camps in like Texas and California. And they were mental rehearsal camps mostly. I mean, that's the majority of what I remember doing at those camps. There was a lot of physical stuff also, but we spent so much time learning how to envision the future, like graphic details of what we were about to perform, how we felt, like, envisioning like the sweat dripping down your temple. I mean, like nitty gritty details. And I remember doing that over and over and over, and it stuck with me. So before I was even in middle school, I can remember just when I was bored, I'd lay in bed and I'd rehearse the future in my mind, like what I wanted to look like when I was older and act like and talk like and the type of job I wanted to have. And sometimes I would just envision the next day, but then most likely what I envisioned would happen because I would just lay in bed and map out my next day, down to my outfit and who I would talk to and what I would talk about and the goal of the day. So I started when I was 3, and I don't think I was maybe 9 when I went to my first camp, maybe 8 or 9. But gosh, by the time I was, like 4th, 5th grade, it was like a constant thing. And so that was just something embedded in me and how I lived. I didn't realize then what it was doing, but I leaned on it most of my life. So skip the tape. I had some unfortunate things happen to me at a later age. When I was a teenager, I met an older man. I ended up having a botched abortion that I got very ill from. I was almost toxic. I had to go into emergency surgery. That was a really hard, I was really sick for about 4 months and bedridden. No one knew what was wrong until we realized what had happened. And so then I had the surgery and, then I was in recovery. And then that older man, who was much older than I was, left me, and it just left me in a state of devastation. And then I ran away from home, found myself in some dark circles with some people I probably shouldn't have been with. But I always had that mental rehearsal ability to, no matter what chaos was around me, I could shut my eyes and I could envision that person that I used to envision before I was in this place. And it was like I'd never let go of knowing that I would get there. I looked at this as a detour. And it wasn't until I talk about it in the book that comes out next month. It wasn't until an officer in a raid said to me, "You don't belong here." And I think I was like 18, maybe at the 19, or no. Yeah, because it was after I was charged, because I was charged at 17. And I went right back in. And so it was like 18, 19. I was still in a really dark place. But an officer came to me in a raid and said, "What are you doing here? Like,
what did you get charged with?"
So that was just one of several drug raids. I was in a really bad place. I got into drugs at the age of 17. I got charged with, it's in the book. Get the book. No, I'm just kidding.
Just because I'm so grateful that my felony charge is when I was 17 years old. That, so I'm just curious. And then
wow, we have like such a similar past. So I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, basically. I was the last person standing. I was 17. I had no idea what had actually just happened. Like, I didn't fully grasp the severity of it. I was a shell of myself at that point. But by the time we got to the station, and, I was the last one standing, I had been arrested for 7 felonies total in the beginning. And some of the charges were pretty bad because some of the things that I had on me were not things that you normally would get. And there was no prescription and the amount in each vial. And anyway, there were some like criminal instrument charges and attempted manslaughter charges. So again, I was in a situation I didn't even realize I was in. But they did tell me that because I was so close to my 18th birthday, and they did use the phrase, "We want to make an example out of you. We're going to try you as an adult."
Oh, no.
No, it was, yeah, I'm telling you, this story gets pretty rough. So they did end up trying me as an adult. I took a plea bargain and I took some of the lesser charges. And once that was made official, it just felt like a nail in the coffin for me. I was 17, it was summer. And it all just happened so fast. I mean, it was in a matter of months after I was really sick from that surgery. And so it was just a quick downward spiral. And all of a sudden I was at the bottom of a pit and I felt completely hopeless. And so I just went right back in to the circle of people that got me there. And I spent a couple of years there. I was in a couple raids. There was, I witnessed, it's in the book, but there was, I talk about the criminal underground drug world and the sex trafficking world and all the things I saw. But in one of those raids, they lined everyone up and someone took me aside. It was a police officer. And that was the moment where I remember thinking, he's right. I don't belong here. I'm like the one person that doesn't belong here is what I felt like. And, so it was days later, I think, that I went, no, it wasn't
God reaching the hand down to you for like that message.
Yeah. And I
moment, you felt
yes.
it.
Yes. And I doubt I went the next day because, again, it was a terrible type of world I was living in. It probably took me a few days to get a ride, but I ended up going. I remember reaching out to a criminal defense lawyer. Like, I physically walked into their office and I said, I have questions and I want help and I want answers. And I remember him looking at me like I was garbage. I probably looked like garbage. It was a bad time in my life. But, I basically begged him to just give me some free answers because he was like, I charge for this advice. And I was like, I just have some questions. But he did tell me, he looked at my record and he looked me up and he said, if I wait, because of the charges and how many, I had to wait 10 years. So if I could stay out of trouble completely for 10 years and work on myself, I could have a normal life, but I would have to wait 10 years. And I decided to do just that. I went back to the building. It was
it's pretty good advice. It's pretty good advice because I've had friends that have like waited 10 years and gotten like licenses for nursing or whatever it is. I mean, it's basic advice, but he gave you some decent advice, even if he was not the kindest.
Yeah, because I didn't even, I mean, at that point I was so young and so naive. I didn't realize there was a chance to ever get my life back before he told me that. I just thought I've been given this deck of cards and this is awful. This is it. But him telling me that I could have a normal life gave me, that little sliver of hope. And I talk about that in my sessions and in my books and my articles, how if someone can be that for me, all these different times in my life, be a little pivot of hope, I can be that for so many people through No Girl Left Behind is really my way of paying it forward. But
Love that.
yeah, so to go back, yeah, I spent a few years in a dark place. Once I found that out, I did go gather my things. I moved in with my father, got a job, got my life back together, looked into further education. I couldn't get the jobs I wanted because I had that stain on my record.
Yeah.
And back then it was different. Things have changed so much, especially where I live. But
Yeah.
yeah, I remember the day everything got removed, I went and I applied for a job in fashion with no experience. I interviewed in a Baskin Robbins across the street from a luxury retail space. And this woman was like, "You have no experience." And I was like, "I know, but I'm telling you, I can do this." And she took a chance on me. And in months, I was, standing up and commentating fashion shows with 500 attendees. And if it wasn't for her, again, another beacon of light, another person just kind of giving me a chance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how we get through it.
Remember, so I told you I had a nonprofit in the past called Women Empowering Women.
Yeah.
Right. And it was because I started it because my best friend growing up died of an overdose in 2016. And she had those felonies that kept piling up whenever she would do good. And then the felony. And she was like in this vicious cycle that she felt like she had nothing to look forward to and no future. And so then this Women Empowering Women was to give women in recovery or like starting their life over college scholarships to kind of override that. Because then if you can get the degree and you can give the space and time and have the vision and the passion and the purpose, that's a whole reason to change your life. If you think you have nothing to look forward to, like, thank God that guy gave you that, at least that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have to, I believe we have to have some kind of passion and purpose inside of us to keep us going. At least for me, I couldn't have been told like, okay, now you're just going to be like, this is it.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't even know who I would be without my scars, really, honestly. I mean, I'd be doing something, but it just feels so right now in my 40s, looking at everything I've been through and the platforms that I have. Like, it just feels like it was on purpose, like the universe put me through all this craziness, because I could handle it. And I did. And I had another pivot from someone in my career. I had a person offered to career coach me. And that was life-changing. That leveled me up in leadership significantly. I was traveling all over the country, going to meetings and boardrooms, and it was fantastic. But again, it was another person that saw something in me that said, "Hey, I think you've got something. I want to coach you." So it was the police officer, the career coach. So I've had, and the woman that gave me the job in fashion. There's so many people in my life that have been that beacon of light. So, and I talk about that with No Girl Left Behind, because at No Girl Left Behind, every time we do an event, there's hundreds of girls and women that we can be that for, give them that aha moment that, I can do something amazing with my life. There is no limit to what I can do.
And we all deserve it, right? Like, you deserve those blessings that happened to you. You went through hell and back, and you deserve all the blessings, the manifestations to come to reality. And like, it took a lot of time I could believe that you deserved it, but like, to internally believe that I deserve that too is such a beautiful gift. And I think it is something that comes with age and work on ourselves and things like that. Like, I like my 40s the best of any era so far.
Same. I'm loving my 40s.
I give way less F's about stuff that does not matter than I ever have in my life. I realize, the advice you tell your younger self, boy, did I spend so much energy on stuff that was not worth it. And thank God I'm free of it now today.
And I know for me in my 40s, because I do a lot in leadership, and, critical feedback and humility and all the things that are hard when you're young become so much easier when you're older. When someone gives me critical feedback, I can now go, oh, like, you're right. Like, let me look at it from a different lens. Whereas in my 20s or 30s, I might have, taken it offensively. Yeah. And so it's just so much. You're so much more comfortable with, it's okay to be wrong, and it's okay to keep learning, because you've become so comfortable with yourself that you're like, yeah, there is more to learn. I'm not perfect, whereas I feel like when you're younger, because I have teenagers, you feel like you really do feel like you know a lot.
You do. Even in your early 20s and things like that, I thought I knew everything. I had no idea what I was doing. But like, every woman that challenges you is not like putting you down. If you can be open to constructive criticism, be open to feedback, it can help us. We can all can grow so much. And I used to think if anything was like, just because I'm self-esteem was this big. So any kind of constructive criticism was not, I couldn't take it. But now I can take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I pride myself in being able to take it. Yeah. I'm actually, sometimes it feels good to just admit and say, I was wrong in that situation.
Yeah. I don't mind saying sorry, I'm wrong. I used to hate that too. I never ever wanted to be wrong.
Because that's where you grow,
Just
Yeah.
a question for anyone, because I have a curly girl. I'm just gonna quickly, because I'm obsessed with your curls. What do you use in them? Because my daughter has curly hair, and I literally can never get it right.
I get asked this like at least once a day. My husband dies when we're in public because he'll look at me and roll his eyes.
Good though. It's like so attractive. It's beautiful.
I have to give my teenage daughter most of the credit, and my hairdresser. But it's a funny story because my teenage daughter started to have like thinning hair when she was like maybe 12 or 13. So I reached out to my hairdresser and I said, like, what do I do? So she told me to try Monet. I think it's Monet or Monat. It's half and half. Some people, I just had a customer say, I call it Monet and I don't care if it's wrong. And I was like, I call it Monet, but it's Monat. You have to find it online. It's not like in a store, but it's a shampoo and conditioner. And it worked on my daughter's hair. It brought her hair back. Like it stopped thinning and it came in fuller. So I was like, this is the secret sauce and I need in on this.
Yes.
So I contacted my hairdresser and I was like, I want to try it. And so I started using it about maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I feel like, somewhere in there. And then they launched something called IR Clinical by Monet. And it's a shampoo and conditioner that makes your hair grow thicker, fuller, faster, and more naturally. And I love it. I cannot say enough good things about it.
Anything you want curls to like keep them beautiful, curly like that? Because they are just like
I have to attribute that to my daughter because when she became of age to be able to go on TikTok, I remember her coming to me and telling me that I washed my hair too much because I wash it every day. And I was like, well, it's curly. I have to wash it every day. And she's like, no, you don't. You shouldn't be. You've got to train your hair. And I was like, what are you talking about? So she taught me how to train my hair, train the oils in your hair, how you stop washing it for a little bit and let it naturally produce things. And so now she's got me on a great schedule. She's almost 16.
How old is she?
She's almost 16.
So how old are all your kids for?
My son is 18. He graduates this year.
Awesome.
He's going to be continuing in an internship and then working with his father for his father's company that he works for. Awesome. Hopefully maybe one day take his dad's position. I don't know. A lot of the guys in my husband's company, their sons kind of carry up into their positions as they retire. It's in commercial construction. But and then I have a almost 16-year-old. She's a sophomore. And then I have a 4th grader and a kindergartner. The kindergartner is the one out there on the couch. That's a story.
My 12-year-old teaches me so much about skincare.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is my daughter taught me most of my hair stuff.
Yeah, they're pretty wise with it. What's good and what's not.
And I will say, so Monet, if anyone's listening, and Living Proof products. That's the only products I use are Living Proof. I love it. Lily Collins is their ambassador, Phil Collins' daughter. Little tidbit of info for you there.
My name growing up was Collins. That was not my biological father's last name. His was Sinicola, but that's a whole other long story. But yes, Collins was my last name for a long time.
Oh, mine was Von Weller before I got married.
I was not about to even try to pronounce your last name. Can you say it again? So I
Cherepanov, but my husband says it with a really nice thick accent, His
accent?
He has a Russian accent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he can make it thicker or non-thick, but
okay.
Yeah, it's been fun. Actually, because I quit drinking over 2 years ago and he's over a year now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is fantastic. And my nephew, who's in his 30s, celebrated 2 years of sobriety on Easter.
That's so cool.
I know. It's so cool because he's in his 30s. And I was like, that's so young to decide to just live the best life ever. Can you imagine I can't imagine if I decided in my 30s.
Well, I mean,
I was in my late 30s, but
I have a 19-year-old who's never tried nicotine or alcohol.
Isn't that fantastic?
That is, I mean, what I had done by the time I was 19, I won't even say here.
I know. I say that to my kids all the time because just even having an 18-year-old, like when I was my son's age, I was living in crazy places. You know, I hadn't spoken to my family. It was a wild time.
Oh yeah, I had escaped places and went to Atlanta. I was doing all kinds of things at 14,
Where
15.
did you grow up?
Stuff. I'm born and raised here.
Oh, okay. You're still in your hometown. Me too.
Hometown, and honestly, no one else is still in the hometown. So it's kind of cool. Like it used to be like I'd always see people, like especially when I was changing my life. Like for the first year, I was like, oh, I see people at gas stations and everywhere I go. I didn't see one person I knew for a whole year. And then when I did see one person, I was kind of like in a different place. And now I'll see like somebody at the gym I went to summer camp with or something like that. And it's cute. It's not like most people felt like they had to get out of here, but I love it here. I love the beach. I love being in South Florida. Like I love that I get to travel and go all around and see other things and experience winter in the West and, the Northeast or just all. I told you I'm dying to come to Oregon.
You should.
Yeah. Have you ever been to South Florida?
No, I've never been to Florida.
Well,
I was conceived in Florida.
Oh.
I do know that.
Well, you and your kids have a place to stay. Yes, all four of you, if you guys want to come and your husband.
Yeah, I would love to come to Florida. No, I've done a lot of traveling, but not very far. I would, I've never even been to Hawaii. I would love to go to Hawaii or like Jamaica or somewhere like that.
It's beautiful.
See, I was just talking to someone about this because I tell my husband this all the time. Have you heard of the 2-2-2 rule to keep relationships healthy? I read it somewhere and it says every 2 weeks go on a date night.
Yes, I've heard of that.
2 months go out of town for the weekend, like a beach, hotel or whatever. Just every 2 months is a weekend away, and every 2 years is a trip that requires a flight away.
Well, so every 2 weeks with a trip on the plane. I need a few a year.
That'd be great. They say a minimum of 2. So I tell my husband that all the time. We're so far behind. I don't even know. We joke about this all the time because we've never actually gone on a trip together. I don't think, except for like once for an anniversary when I was pregnant. But he'll always say like, yeah, we have. And I'm like, I'll remind him that like that was for someone's wedding or for a reunion, or there was something that we had to go for, but we've never just planned a trip, just the two of us. And he considers those trips that we take for events as our trip.
It is, but it isn't, know?
Yeah.
My partner is taking me away this weekend from Friday to Sunday, and I don't know where we're going. It's a surprise.
Oh,
my birthday on Thursday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. Sarah's birthday's today, my business partner. So we're both Taurus girls.
Oh, love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I still like my birthday. Maybe I won't when I'm older, but I still enjoy it. And I would like to have fun. And this week is take your kid to work day for that. So I had a spa whole day booked. And then my daughter told me that. And I was like, all right, I canceled my spa day because I would rather be with
Mom. That's so sweet.
Fun.
I just did something similar because I always chaperone the zoo trips for my kids. Well, I did for the first 2.
Yeah.
And I had a day of like, I was booked with like podcasts, and then my daughter announced that her zoo trip was like that day. I just got notification, but I canceled all my things and rescheduled them because I thought, they only go to the zoo once. I think it's like 4th grade and, obviously 4th and 5th, but I didn't miss it for my teenagers. I was a chaperone and I was like, I would kill myself if I missed it for her, if I was too busy to go to her zoo trip. So same thing, like sometimes you just got to cancel things for the kids and show up, because there's so many memories that are those ones they'll never forget,
Yeah, I completely agree. I have my kids half the time, and so does my partner. So we have like a few days there's nobody here. So when they're here, like I want to be fully present. Like today, my daughter has a track meet, so I'm going to go, even though she's not with me. It's down the street. I go to everything that I can, for both, even my adult son, even though it's hard to get pinned.
Yeah, I will say, when my son was young, so like, 15 years ago, I went to all the practices and I sat there, and I don't do that anymore. Like when I was in my late 20s, I sat at every practice with my lawn chair, every single one. But now that there's 4 of them,
that's like unmanageable. There's no way you could.
Yeah, because like now we have stuff overlapping. I used to joke before COVID. Well, it's not a joke, but it was reality. We had sports 6 nights a week before COVID, when sports were really active, and then they kind of scaled things back and consolidated. But yeah, times were crazy. But I did it back then,
Yeah, that's I
now.
for parents that dedicate like that work and also do like travel sports for their kids, like I
Yeah, that's wild. See, I was gonna do that for one of my kids this year, and I decided to wait because we thought about doing tournament softball. And I was like, gosh, I just feel like it's such a commitment right now. I'm already traveling for work, and so we decided to just let her do recreational softball. I mean, she's so young. Like,
yeah.
really, like, just let her have fun out there for a few more years, and then we'll get real serious.
Well, you and hubby go on the trip that's not anyone's wedding and not anyone's anything on a plane somewhere, and then she can.
There you go. Get my priorities straight.
So, what message would you love to give to anyone watching, a woman, young person, older, younger, restarting their life? I feel like that's when we're kind of, the transformations. There's so many transformations, evolutions. You shared about the people that made a difference, and I'm sure anyone listening and watching can think back and think of the people that have imprinted. What would you like to share with people?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing I went over in this last session with these girls. Once I kind of talk about what happened to me and kind of say where I am now, um, like the chapter of the book that comes out next month, my chapter is called From Felon or Rebuilt from Felon to CEO. Sorry, I messed that up. Rebuilt from Felon to CEO. And so with that message and that story, and me now sharing everything that I've been through and where I am now, I feel like I just want people to see that what I've gone through in my journey and my magnitude is a living example of what you can do if you really focus on your future self and your capabilities and you envision it. And so that's what I talk about with these girls is, even if you're being bullied at school or, if you're in the criminal underground drug trafficking, sex trafficking world. I mean, that's the extreme side of it. But no matter what kind of a situation you're in that's a bad situation, you can still close your eyes and see a better version of yourself. And if you just hold on to that every day, every single day, and I'm not even kidding, like I did it every single day. Close your eyes at least once a day and picture yourself in the future, exactly how you want to be. And the world will start to shift things in your favor to get you there. They might be uncomfortable things. They might not feel like good things, but 5 years down the road, you'll go, oh, I see why that was a closed door in my face because I needed this one to open to get me here. It'll all start to make sense. But your job, your responsibility is envision yourself at your highest every day. Eyes open, eyes closed. When you're sitting there waiting for something in a waiting room on the phone on hold, there's time in the day to just close your eyes and picture your future self at your best. And if you can just keep doing that, things will align and things will start to step into your place that make it possible.
I love that. That's beautiful. And that's been such a powerful thing for you since you were young, like that's how you survived probably and got through those dark times. That's how you condition. And I mean, you use the word envision. I use the word manifest. And I used to be scared of it because I would believe something, see it, work for it, like really, and then it would happen. And then I heard people say like, oh, you're so lucky. Like, okay, no. I bust my butt behind. No one sees
Yeah, no, I wrote this down on a piece of paper 5 years ago. This has been something I've been working on.
Yeah, I remember the show Intervention. That was like 14 years ago. I just said, I'm going to be on that show. And I had no idea. I wasn't even an interventionist yet. So I don't need, but somehow I ended up. But it's like, I didn't just, it didn't just magically happen. Right.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
And there are some things that if you struggle to sit with yourself, that are exercises I think that people can do. The vision board is one that's like, I've always done a vision board. And then my coach had just had us all do the mind movies, which are like, you can actually make on Canva, like what you want to see in your movie. So like, there's like visual ways. Yeah, it's really cool. You make it on Canva or Google Slides and you can put whatever you want and like to see the future and plan it out. Like, so there's all kinds of cool ways. Like, yeah, I love that. How can people find you and when is the talk about the book?
So I'm a chapter. Well, first people can find me if they just Google me. I'm just kidding. But no, I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn, mostly Instagram, I feel like. Because when I decided to give up alcohol, that was where I leaned in heavily with the recovery community. And now I've just got so many friends in there. But the book is called Start Over. And It's Marco Robinson. It was his idea, and he's produced a couple shows on Netflix. He's got a Broadway show coming out. He has a television show in the UK called Get a House for Free. He's the host and producer of that. But he had this idea, let's get some people that have some life-changing stories that completely turned their life around and have them all write their stories and create a community of them so they can lean on each other and a book tour. And so it's been amazing. I think it's been almost a year, I feel like, that I've been in this community with him. But gosh, there's like
typing the date.
I want to say May 3rd. I don't know if I have an exact date. I know it's the first week of May. I should know. It's moved around a few times. So volume 1 already came out. It's on Amazon. It actually shot to #1 in the UK. It was phenomenal. I think there's a total of like 150 authors at this point, maybe. And there's 14 volumes. I'm in volume 2. And I know my volume comes out the first week of May. If you go to my Instagram and go to my links, there's one in there that says book link. And it's literally a pre-order link to my volume. And it also gives you a preview of my chapter, some sneak peek things of the book tour. So they're doing a European book tour. I backed out of the first round just because I'm too busy and I have a crazy schedule, which they're fine with. I can always do the book tour. It's there. I'm just so busy. It's not in my wheelhouse right now, but there is a book tour going on. I'd love to be a part of it one day. Life is just kind of crazy right now, but my volume comes out first week of May. It's called Start Over. It's in my links. Also, if you go to my website, inspirewithmarissa.com, kind of everything is on there. I've also got a gallery of the No Girl Left Behind events, because a lot of times people will say, like, what does it actually look like? Like, I'm confused. What does the day actually look like? And I'll tell them, if you go to inspirewithmarissa.com and go to the menu and go to the gallery, I've just been compiling pictures of events. Every time I get back from an event, I just throw them in there. And yeah, so the book is in there. The university I work for and the advisor work I do, there's a link in there that kind of gives a high-level summary of the work I do for the university. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else is in there. You're in there. This webinar is on my website. Did you know that? Yeah, I try to keep it
go in early and set and connect your links.
I try to keep everything in my website very current so people know where I'm going to be and what I'm doing. Yeah.
And you're just such a beautiful soul with such a pure heart and so much to offer. And, you show up as a mom, you give yourself, to services that you feel passionate about. And, that's just a beautiful thing. And you're giving back what, the tidbits of what people gave to you over the years, you're giving back 10 times, just so you know.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful to know you, and so happy that we got to do this today. And I would like to stay on, just chat for a few more minutes after, if you're cool with that.
As always.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there any final thoughts, or do we cover the final thoughts?
I think we got everything. No, I appreciate you letting people figure out where to find me, because I do put a lot on there. But no, this has been fantastic, and I feel, we're so connected based off the things we've spoken about off camera too. There's so many things that there's a lot I learned today about you that I didn't realize we even had more in common. So, this is fantastic. I want to do another one.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to share more off camera. But I mean, I'm pretty much the same on and off camera, but there's certain things that I'm just like, I'm vulnerable, but I don't have to be that vulnerable. Right?
Yeah. Right.
All right. Thank you so much for joining today on Levels Without Limits. I'm Amanda Marino, your host, and thank you, Marissa.
Thank you, guys.
And I'm going to end it on Instagram first, because I think that's what I need to do. Oh, I think it ended on Zoom. All right, I'm going to end here. Have a great day, everyone.